Hey everyone, Niels here with some quick pre-show announcements again. First of all, thank you for listening, so let's get to it. We have a giveaway you can join through the link on our pin post on Twitter and our bio link on Instagram. If we make it to 500 listens, which we are well on the way to do, we will give away double the dice, and that way also doubles the fun. Also, again, if you like what we do, follow us on your platform of choice, rate us or even review us, refer us to a friend. That way you can really help us. Thank you so much for your continued support of our little project. We're up to 20 episodes. I mean, can you imagine? Thank you so much from us, and now enjoy the episode where we discuss one-shot design versus campaign design. Hello and welcome back to our 20th episode of DoubleDM podcast. With me today is my lovely co-host Emil, as usual. How are you today?
I am doing very, very good. I had my birthday this Friday, which was the 4th of June, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was a wild one.
Before anyone starts asking, everything was completely pandemic regulations friendly.
Yes.
We did not meet up. We did not meet anywhere. We were basically all on Discord, hanging out, playing video games, and basically having just a fun time. Yeah.
And it was a fucking fun time.
Yeah, it was really a fun time, especially because we as friends, right? As that yes. Friend group, we just. We met. We are only as a group together because we play video games. So, yeah, that's basically also one of the best birthdays. Obviously, I would have loved it more if everyone would be with me at like my home and we would basically party and do some other stuff. But basically doing that, what we actually do as a friend group normally, just more condensed and planned, was actually good as well. It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
The EA press conferences are coming up this next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And as people know from the last episode, we like video games. And I also love hearing about new video games, and the EA press conferences are the best place to do that. So I'm actually pretty hyped to watch some press conferences, cringe a little bit at presentations, look at new trailers, and whatever celebrity this year will be on stages like Keanu Reeves or Pelé.
Let's see about it. But new game trailers are always interesting. To see what is coming up in the next year or in the next 2 years even. It will be interesting to see where we can sink our money into.
I'm still hoping for Bethesda's announcement of another thing to the new Elder Scrolls. But I think with the success that Online Blackwood has, they will only do Elder Scrolls Online stuff this time, which might they announced that like 2 or 3 years ago that there might be something very new for Elder Scrolls, which isn't Elder Scrolls Online stuff. Yeah, so Elder Scrolls 6 when, right?
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah, but
imagine this one, Elder Scrolls 6, with the graphics of Cyberpunk 2077.
And the bugs?
Oh, obviously. It's not a bug, it's a feature at this point.
No, I'm not hoping for like the next 2 years. That's probably not possible. I think that they might be doing, like, I don't know if there are any announcements. I only watched that EA once that there was something Elder Scrolls coming. And I'm hoping probably that we get some sort of date or some sort of expectations this time. Like,
I just hope
2024
within the next decade. Within the next decade would be nice.
If they announced it at like
would be nice.
2019, there will be something this decade for that. If that's still true, I don't know. Again, I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's all we can do. So, was there anything for you except your awesome birthday party that happened?
I had session 0 with Hope for TTRPGs, Cody Garrett Wells, and Doug from Nerdy Excursions for our Call of Cthulhu stream campaign, which will premiere on the 19th of June on twitch.tv/Nerdy Excursions. This will be, after the Beige Gang, my first experience in streaming a campaign. I'm very frightened.
You'll do good. You'll do fine.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
As long as you're having fun, like we say on the show all the time,
yeah,
you're doing it right, and you're doing just fine.
Like, this is just my imposter syndrome speaking up, but I know that as long as everyone at the table is having fun, nothing has been done wrong. But I always fear, especially if I'm with new people, that I am the one destroying the fun for them at the table.
I can relate to that.
So, I don't know. We will see. This episode here airs on the 13th of June. So, in exactly 1 week when you are listening to this, on Saturday, I will be live at 4 p.m. CET till 8 p.m. CET. Not 8 p.m. 10. Wait, I'm dumb. 16 p.m. doesn't exist. 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. This is it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will be playing a German pilot in the 1920s that moved to America for possibilities, because 1920 Germany sucked.
Yeah.
So he moved there with his mother and now is basically going by as a pilot. He has some secrets, some scars from the military, from the war. But isn't a war veteran, actually, which is quite fun. I don't know how this is gonna go. I think it will go good, but I also I don't know. I probably will have fun. It's the first time I'm actually playing Call of Cthulhu as a player.
I'm interested in seeing how this one will go.
I'm too. So, you have a session coming up in about 3 hours, right?
Exactly. Yesterday the DM called and said, "Hey, I'm gonna DM a spontaneous session. Want to join? We're playing at level 4, make a character, and see you in around 12 hours or so." So I did that, and she allowed to use my own homebrew race, which I did with a friend of mine. We homebrewed a half Oni race for my own homebrew world, but it would fit in her own homebrew world as well, so she allowed me to play it, and now I'm playing a half Oni Onomancy wizard, which I'm excited about, with true name shit and all that good stuff. Yeah. I don't know where this is gonna go, what the goal is or anything, but yeah, I'm excited. And I got my DoubleDM stuff in the mail recently. Yeah, I'm drinking coffee from the DoubleDM mug right now, and it tastes that much better, just because of the logo.
Just because of the logo.
It is just beautiful. I love it.
Understandable.
And you told me about the new Dnd book that was leaked today.
Oh, yes, I did told you about that.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a new Dnd book leaked by Amazon again. I normally am not the person to talk much about leaked stuff, because it is leaked. You don't know, this is only speculation right now, but it's a book which is supposedly called The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. The cover has some sort of carnival on it, making it very seem like it could be something like a carnival horror scenario in the Feywild, maybe, which I have to say I don't really like.
Yeah, you need something else than just an adventure or something like that, I think, for that. Because, as we talked about earlier, the Feywild isn't that explained in 5e in comparison to the material plane.
Yeah, for me the big problem is probably that anything they put, like, okay, we have here this big carnival with a magic fairy jester horror scenario, I can basically make that myself. Obviously, it's fine if I get some stat blocks and race options, class options and whatnot. Problem being, I don't know if I can really work with that, because it's probably not something like Tasha's Cauldron. So it's not a perfect player book, right? It's not a book that a player needs to get new character ideas. Maybe it's a campaign setting like the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, where you just give this big fairy carnival adventure region and say play with that, and that would be fine for me. Like, I want stat block from a book. I want stat blocks, I want options, and I want information. Lore, right?
Yes.
Those three I need. If I can understand when a book like Tasha's gives me way more options but less lore and less information. That's okay. But I don't know what to expect from this book, because if it's just player options, that's fine. If it's a scenario, something like that, I don't know if I would need that, because what I would love is a lot of lore and information and options for specifically for the Feywild. But this carnival being on there, this jester being on the cover, makes me think that this might not be the case, that this is just lore and options, but rather an adventure set in the Feywild again. Or not again, but...
Yeah, what I would love to get out of this is something like the Icewind Dale book, with some sort of campaign setting in the Feywild, explaining it a bit more, with possible starting adventures in there.
Yeah, that would be fine, but
that would be
the carnival on the cover, the jester on the cover, and everything that is basically the cover, but that might allude to what is in the book, does not appeal to me. If it is just a carnival setting in the Feywild, I don't need that. What I would love is if it is a Feywild setting, if it's just the Feywild and they just chose this carnival because there is a carnival somewhere in the adventure they are providing. But if that's basically everything there is, I don't need that. Like, I want, like, Descent into Avernus, right? That's, Elturel, the big city, gets dragged to the Nine Hells and you need to save it. Like, that is fine, right? That, like, you have this, at the beginning you have this carnival, and that's why it's on the cover, but after that it basically becomes an adventure through the Feywild, escaping or saving the Feywild, and not just this carnival. If it's just this carnival, I don't want it. If it is really a lot of information and world building around the Feywild, that's fine, because I can use that as inspiration for my own. I don't have actually to use what's in the book. I can make that up my own, but having something I can evaluate and look at, that would be fine. But it maybe even is a full campaign, which would be fine again. I would have no problem with it being a campaign. The problem is if that campaign is only set on that carnival.
Yeah, that would be like a collection of little one-shots. Like the Candlekeep Mystery or Candlekeep Mysteries or the Tales of the Yawning Portal. That would be not ideal, I would say.
Yeah.
But something like Horde of the Dragon Queen, Icewind Dale, or Descent into Avernus with big lore stuff around it, like a complete module and campaign, that would be a different story.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have a problem with it just being a collection of one-shots, but the problem is if that all of those one-shots are on this carnival again. Like, I only have a problem with this carnival aspect that I only see on the cover. if that is really the full focus of this book, I don't like this book. If that's just the cover and that's the first adventure of a campaign or the first one-shot of a series of one-shots, that's completely fine for me. That's okay. That's something you can use. That's something, okay, cool, you have this carnival one-shot, but after that you go into
the magical mysteries of all the fairy world out
going
there.
to one of the courts of the Archface or of the Fairy Queen, saving a dryad from some sort of corruption. Those are all interesting stories you can tell. But if I only have this carnival story I can tell with that book, that's not enough stories I can tell.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question. What do you like personally more? Playing a collection of one-shots or a campaign?
Well,
either as a DM or as a player.
I love, in both scenarios of being a player or a DM, I like campaigns more. That doesn't mean I don't like one-shots, because I do like one-shots. I think that both of them do several big things completely differently, which means they need to be looked at somewhat differently as well. You can't just compare the two easily. So, yeah, I like campaigns more. If someone tells me we are playing a campaign, I'm ready instantly. I'm signing up for that, because I love long adventures, long storylines, where you really get to actually play something. Because in a one-shot, surprise, surprise, you try to stay in, let's say, the 4-hour time frame you normally have for one-shots. You normally have for sessions in D&D or any TTRPG. Maybe you make it a 2-shot. That's still fine. That's still a 1-shot for me, or at least falls under that category. But you don't have much time to develop a character there. You don't have much time to play out all the aspects of a player's personality, of a character's personality. That's only something you can do in a campaign, and that's something I like to do, and basically also change things. In a one-shot, you are way more set on what you should do. Like, what I want to say is pacing is important for both. But one-shots do it completely differently than campaigns. So, throwing that right back at you, do you like one-shots more or campaigns?
Depending on the context, but in general, I like campaigns more, because I think I have the ability to do more or different stuff. But if I'm playing with a lot of new players, I like one-shots a little more, because it is a compressed and condensed way of getting, or trying to get every important rule across to the players in a condensed time and space, and giving the new players the ability to see how this game is going to work, and then after that starting in a longer campaign with a longer commitment, because one-shots don't have that much of a commitment thing going on as campaigns do.
Obviously, a lot of campaigns also start from one-shots, right?
Obviously.
But that's still okay, because one-shots are, as you said, great introductory adventures. You can greatly, one-shots are good to introduce new players to the game, show them how it's done. Because one-shots, as I said, do pacing very well. Because one-shots are short when you look at campaigns as the comparable other. One-shots are supposed to be one-time play. You meet up for 4 hours and you're done after. So pacing is important. You need to have the right pacing. A one-shot starts somewhere, and you need to get to the end before the time is over. In a campaign, that doesn't matter, right? You have to start somewhere, and you have to get from A to B. But if you stop in the middle of that journey, you can just pick up there next week or something, or like the next 2 weeks, whatever. You can pick there up again. For one shot, that might not even be possible. Like, if you have a player that's has a very tight schedule, and they basically take 4 hours out of their schedule away to play with you, you need to finish in those 4 hours because they might not be able to play for the next 3 months again. So
exactly, and that would destroy the whole immersion thing.
Yeah. So
what would be possible in some ways is if you miscalculated how much there would be, and you all have a weekend to spare. You can meet up on Saturday, start, and see, we are not going to finish anytime soon. So let's just break it off here and take up the thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
If everybody has time, that would be still considered a one-shot for me as well.
Yeah, I consider a one-shot everything that's basically just one adventure. One A to B finish. Even if that takes 3 sessions, but a campaign is something that really is a lot of more storytelling, while a one-shot is like, I think
one-shot is basically just one quest.
Yes.
And a campaign is several or even several quests sometimes building up on each other or up to each other and leading to different quest lines.
Yeah. It's one overarching quest that can be broken down into several others.
Exactly.
But the thing is, a one-shot does not leave a lot of room for, let's say, like, you can obviously play, still have inter-character roleplay and a lot of roleplay, but a one-shot does not leave time to do nothing. If you, as a group, at a one-shot, sit 1 hour in a tavern, that's 1 hour down. In a campaign, that's totally fine, because you don't have this, we need to finish before the time runs out, because basically you all signed up for a longer experience of maybe a session every week on Saturdays. Then it doesn't matter if you one session only do tavern stuff, because next session you can still do the quest you were supposed to do. That's
you can even
fine.
Just sit there and play a tavern thing, like role play everything in the tavern you want for 6 hours, like you were sitting 6 hours in a tavern. That would be totally fine in a campaign.
Yeah.
In a one shot, difficult.
Yeah, that's totally right. So one shots do pacing very well, but because of that, you don't have a lot of character development. And also,
yes,
most people I play with I do a lot of one shots with my friends. We have our D&D campaigns because we like D&D, but when we play one shots, we play different systems. They come to the table with the expectation of learning that system, playing that system for fun, rolling dice, having combat, having some interaction, but never really for like having their character develop into something. They don't come to the table with a tragic backstory that of a fighter that's parents have been killed and he needs to avenge them. I don't want that in a one-shot. I don't want you in a one-shot to come to me with a backstory and tell me, give me a 5-page backstory about, hey, this is my character now. And I'm like, okay, cool, but you know that's never gonna come up in the one-shot, right? Except maybe as a motivation for you to go in the one-shot for like 5 minutes maximum. But that's it. In a campaign, if you hand me a 5-page backstory, you're gonna bet your ass I am gonna use everything of that to develop your character with you. That's what's supposed to happen. So
something similar happened in our Witcher one-shot. We did. We were a lot of people. I think six
we
players.
were 6, yes.
Yeah. And nobody really had a backstory, just some minor things why they would go there, obviously, because you need some sort of motivation. But we were all expecting, okay, after this evening, it's all done, we just need the motivation, and let's get on with it. But then we turned it into, or Emil turned it into some sort of mini-campaign, which now is awesome, and some bits and bobs here and there are sprinkled in.
Yeah, obviously. Now you develop your character backstory more and more through play and what you want to do. And that's fine. Again, a lot of one-shots turn into campaigns, and that's totally fine. But don't expect people to come to, as a DM, don't expect people to come to a one-shot having a backstory or a character that's really interesting. If I'm asked, hey, do you want to play a one-shot in D&D? I'm going there with a fighter, champion, just to hit stuff. I don't have an explanation on why I have this fighter now, or or why this fight is doing anything, I don't have anything really. I just have a character sheet with mechanics on it to play, and all of the interactions in the game I can make up. I can totally improv that. I don't need a backstory for that. I can just play a rugged fighter for fun. That might be boring for a campaign because it's maybe
for a campaign you need character development to make it interesting.
You don't
in the long
need
run.
it. But it's what a campaign can do with your character, right?
Yes.
It's something a one-shot can't for you. So campaigns do really well in, like, pacing is something both do well, but completely differently. Because I heard someone say once, one-shots are basically you can only have three things: a combat encounter, a social encounter, and an investigative encounter. And after that, that's it. Because a combat takes in D&D around... Let's take D&D as an example, but this is mostly applicable to all systems. Combat sometimes can be a drag, and sometimes takes long. Maybe it doesn't in your case, then you can do 2 combats, right? But you don't have much time to do a lot of stuff. Like if you have a dungeon, that dungeon can't be a mega dungeon with like 100 rooms, because your players might need 5 minutes per room. With 100 rooms, that's 500 minutes. That's a lot.
Yes.
That's nearly 10 hours.
Yeah. And there isn't anything in between those things anymore then. And a 10-hour one-shot is... Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It is.
So, what are other things campaigns do really well, in your opinion? Next to pacing in their way and character development.
I think what campaigns do well is hiding secrets.
Uh-huh.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You can plot plots or schemes behind the scenes that just give you a twist at the end.
Yeah.
But they need to develop over a longer period of time.
Again, you as a DM have time. You as a character, as a player, you have time in a campaign.
You can age your stories and backstabbings and political intrigue or everything else like a good wine or a good whiskey.
Exactly.
You need some time to develop it.
Yeah,
And you got the time then and can then turn it around and stab your players in the back with it.
Like, you can do that in a one-shot as well. Like, you can introduce the quest giver as this general of the army, and he sends the players on a quest. And when they finish that quest, they realize the general was the big bad evil guy of that one shot, and now they have to fight him. That's also some sort of the backstab, but that doesn't really take time, right? You have this in the one shot. That's fine. But in a campaign,
what makes it really,
you can really develop and cherish this, because you have the time to plan. You have the time to do certain things that just can't fit in a one shot.
Yeah, and what I like about campaigns and having the time is you can create somewhat of a bond between an NPC, which will later turn evil or become corrupted or something, and but build a friendly bond between this NPC and the party first, which then comes as a total shock, or you can slowly see the mental downfall of that NPC, which makes it that much more harder if they try everything they can to stop it, but it won't work.
I get that.
In a campaign, you're that much more emotionally invested, I think, as a player. And as a DM, because you learn to love all the characters, or nearly all of the characters your players play.
Yeah, for the NPCs, you also have time to develop those again, right? You have time to actually make NPCs. Because when I play one-shots, I don't have really... I have NPCs, right? They have a name, they have looks, they look certain ways, but I mostly use stereotypes for NPCs in one-shots. That makes it easy for my players to understand what their role is, so they don't have... You can't create bonds with NPCs in a one-shot, really. You just can't. Yeah. They can be interesting, obviously, but there isn't something like a connection that your players have, because they maybe meet them once or maybe twice, and that's it. there is no real connection. This NPC might be able to save a player character, and the player character might be thanking them for that. But really, that's still not a connection, right? In a campaign, you can introduce this character in session 3, and they're gonna be with the party till session 100, and they are close friends. They come over to dinner. They are friends. Maybe they even are a love interest of one of the player characters. That's interesting. In a one-shot, that just can't really happen. You have time to build this. You have time to create this. And in the one-shot, I use just stereotypes. This is a savior, protector, fighter type of dude. He's nice, he is protective.
The knight in shining armor.
Yes, exactly. Or you have the damsel in distress, which doesn't have to be a damsel, right? It could also be a dude in distress, or an NB in distress, right? It doesn't matter. You have someone in distress. You can have the barkeeper that has information for them. They have names and faces, yes, but honestly, they are still just NPCs.
Backstory.
Yeah, exactly. They are NPCs your players can use.
It's just a hull where you can sprinkle your plot points in within the one shot without needing to have a fully fleshed out character for that NPC.
Again, circling back to the pacing with that, what you just said is everything in a one shot I do is to move the story forward. Now, I also do that in campaigns, right? But in a one-shot, this NPC does not have any rumors that might open up a side quest, because a side quest takes time, and I don't need that time taken away from me. This NPC is only there to give my players the information they need for their main quest in that one-shot. Maybe he can tell them his wife is sick, right? But I don't want my players to then say, okay, let's go get some herbs for you so your wife survives. I don't want them to do that. So this NPC is just a hull that I can put the story points in, so my players can move the story forward with that. In a campaign, I can introduce that NPC that has a sick wife that needs taken care of and needs meds. That's doable, because in a campaign, again, I have the time to do that. My players can, on their journey, when they venture out to kill the wolves in the woods, they can also find the special flower they need for those meds. That's something I can do. But in a one-shot, that flower just doesn't exist. That sick wife doesn't exist. There is no story about that, because that would take time away if my players chose to go that route.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about what one-shots and campaigns do well, and what one-shots lack in some ways. What do campaigns do not so well, in your opinion, in comparison to a one-shot?
I think, obviously, versatility. I use one-shots normally as ways to introduce new systems. I hear a lot of people say I only play D&D 5th edition, I only play Pathfinder 1st edition. I'm like, why? Why do you have a problem with trying new systems? I can understand if you have reasons for it, like you don't want to spend money on the hobby, you don't want to buy new books, or you just are set with that. That's totally fine. But I'm like, I love trying out new mechanics, new worlds, new systems. I love finding new systems I can use, right? Like I can use these systems to introduce new mechanics to my players and myself. I can create interesting new stories in those systems that might not fit the medieval fantasy style D&D does or Pathfinder does, and what those systems are best to create, right? D&D is not a one for all. One size fits all is not true for any system. Some systems do other things better, and I can use these systems. So what I use one-shots for is to expand my horizon on systems. So when I want to play a new campaign and think to myself, well, now I want to play a mecha campaign, a futuristic campaign where you have to fight kaijus like in Pacific Rim, right? Yes. I am not gonna do that in D&D 5e or Pathfinder. Like, yes, maybe there is homebrew for that, and that's totally fine if people want to play that. That's something you need to keep in mind. Some people like that. That's okay. Yeah, but I'm not that person.
Why not expand your horizon and see what other system or how other systems do it, and maybe even like that?
Yeah.
And then just play it in this system.
So what I mostly do for one-shots is if I play one-shots right now, they are never D&D or The Dark Eye, which is my second system I use normally for campaigns. It just isn't, because, well, those systems are good, but I want to play something different. I want to have a new experience. That can be quite daunting, right? You have to read a new system for every one-shot. But I do these one-shots like one every 2 months or 3. So what also is good is you can playtest systems. Like, everyone, if you are interested in new systems, look for people that are actively looking for playtesters in forums, on Twitter, on Instagram, or wherever you can find those people. They will,
like we did with Travel Not Advised.
or we are doing with the new Hell of a Boss TTRPG created by Penguin Uncle on Twitter. That's amazing. You can help people test their systems out. They're indie systems. You don't have to play big published systems for that. You can play everything. Just find something you would find interesting and do it. That's what I do with one-shots. I find something I find very interesting to play with, and then I use it to create that. And and then I find some things for my campaign. Even if my campaigns stay D&D, I might find rules in those systems that I can adapt as homebrew rules. Like a system that has some sort of new death save system. And I like that more than D&D's death save system. I might be implementing that for my games because it's more fun for the players. Also, since one-shots are things that are very different to campaigns, as we already talked about, they bring a lot of new experiences to players.
Yeah, what I like to do in a one-shot is think about crazy class and character combinations and then try those out. Even as a DM, if I find something homebrewed online and I'm not sure how it is balanced, I just throw it at my players in a one-shot to see if it works, how well it works, and stuff like that, how I would like to play it and stuff like that. That's what one-shots do incredibly well as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Like one-shots can give you so many new cool experiences in the game itself. Whatever game you're playing, you can, because in one-shots people are less, like we said, inclined to play a character and more inclined to play a game. Like this may sound weird, but if you play a campaign, you want your players to roleplay. You want your players to play their character well. But in a one-shot, you just want them to have fun. Like, you want to have them to have fun in a campaign, right, too, but a different way of having fun. At least for
less
me.
of a storytelling way, but more in a mechanical sense.
Yeah,
I think.
I also enjoy them telling funky stories. Like, I've had one-shots when all my players were playing kobolds, and that's also a fun story, right? It has nothing to do with mechanics, but with a fun story they want to tell.
What I meant was like emotionally deep,
brooding. You don't have
stories.
time for that. Again, you don't have the time, so you have to play more different ideas, more funky characters, which is perfect. I love it. I love it if you come with a crazy idea to me for one shot. Like, if you come to my table for a campaign with a crazy idea that you and I won't enjoy 6 sessions later, I'm just gonna deny you that request. Not because I hate you or that idea, but because I know it will take your fun away. Like, I'm not gonna deny it outright. I'm gonna tell the player, hey, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to play this? Like, playing a rogue with a dex of like 6. I can understand the fun in that. But honestly, for a campaign, you will feel kind of more useless than the rest. You need to find different ways. Again, it's totally fine to play a rogue that's not high in dex. That's totally fine. But honestly, that's like, I'm not saying don't play characters with unoptimized stats. That's important. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I want you to have fun at my table, and I'm gonna tell you if I think that might not be an option to have fun at my table right now. If you are still going through with that, I'm gonna support you. But honestly, if all of the other players are optimizing and you are not unoptimizing, but basically going the route of having a bad character for funsies, I don't know if you still have fun after 6 sessions. I want you to have fun for at least the first half year of the campaign. I want you to have fun for a long time with that character. And if I feel like you only have this character for one-time fun experience, then I'm going to ask you to look at it and really think this through of going with that character. Because I can understand changing characters in campaigns. That's something campaigns can also do. You can change characters. You can't do that in one-shots. But, like, I want you to have fun for a long time. And if I feel like you have not thought about that, I'm gonna ask you if you really think that's the case with that build, that character. I want you to have fun, and if I think that might not be the case in 6 sessions, I am gonna ask you if that's what you really want. If you want that, I will support you the whole way through. But I'm also gonna play my campaign. If you play a rogue with shitty decks, and then realize after 6 sessions that campaign requires a rogue with a good dex, I more or less told you that. I gave you the expectation of this might not be fun for you after a few sessions. Think this through. If you go through with that, I'm just able to say, I want you, do you want to change character? I'm always going to have that option open for you. That's always a discussion you can have with me as a DM, but honestly, I told you so. I managed your expectations. You chose to ignore that? Well, I told you so. It sounds bad when I'm saying this, but trust me, I don't want to shoot down ideas that could be fun to play. I just don't want you to choose ideas that not ensure your fun.
And regarding that, not making choices which lead to an unfun experience, what do you think you have to keep in mind when designing a campaign?
Exactly what I just told you. You have to keep in mind that you have to ensure fun for a long time. You have to ensure that. You have to ensure that all your players are fine with playing for a long time. You have to ensure that there is a progression, right? In a one-shot, you don't really need a progression. You need to go from A to B and fight some stuff, or investigate some stuff. But in a campaign, your characters or players really need to feel like they have a progression. They are, let's say, rising the ranks of adventurers. They are becoming heroes. They don't even have to become heroes, right? They just need to have some sort of progression. Your campaign isn't something you can hold. Like, you can't have a campaign that's them doing like 6 months of only killing these sheep on the farm, first level World of Warcraft quests. That's not what you can do. You can't do that. So, with that, is there something I missed, in your opinion, for campaigns?
I think not really, but adding a little detail to it, having the bigger picture in mind is important, because you need to know when to put in some backstory things or backstory hooks or NPCs in the from the backstories, or NPCs they met before which they might not remember, or something like that. So you have to keep in mind the bigger picture that you want to, or where you want the campaign to go, instead of the one shot where you exactly know this, that, done.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, you need some level of detail and ensuring again that the campaign is actually playable for a long time.
Yeah.
So, coming to one shots, what's something important to keep in mind there?
I think you need to keep in mind how long an encounter is going to be and how long the playing session is going to be, or as planned to be. As per usual, you don't, or you cannot say exactly how long it will go, because players do shit here, players do shit there, and something like that.
Yeah.
Or the combat drags or something like that, but you have to keep in mind how long you plan for each encounter and for the time between those encounters. How long do you plan for that? And you basically need stat blocks for everything, I think, in a one-shot in comparison to a campaign. In a campaign, when they suddenly fight something you don't have a stat block for, you can say, all right, we end the session right there if the time limit of the session is reached, and say we pick up there next week, which you cannot do in a one-shot, so you have to be prepared a lot more for stuff like that.
Yeah, well, again, this is something that could be taken out of context. You don't need to be prepared for a one-shot, but you need to think about that this one-shot is supposed to end at that time.
Exactly.
So you need to find an ending there. An ending could be that the monster the players now face isn't just some sort of evil bandit, but now a dragon that has eaten the bandits. And then you can stop there. Boom. Yeah, the players die because they are level 2 and fight the dragon. Huh? It's okay. That's okay. The big difference for me in both is, in a one-shot, like we already told, you need to touch everything of a game. You need to touch, like, if it's a new system or even D&D in general, you need to touch every aspect of the game. So every player that has a different character, like when you have a fighter and you don't have a combat, that player might feel a bit useless because they made a character made for combat. I'm not talking about the class fighter, but talking about someone that actually fights. That could also be a rogue, or even a barbarian.
Or a barbarian,
a paladin too. But then you also need maybe a social encounter for those that actually want to have social encounters, like sorcerers, bards, rogues again.
Warlocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
You need to touch every aspect of the game. So every player, or at least you have to touch every aspect of the characters. You need to give every character a moment where they can shine in a one-shot. Because if they don't shine in a one-shot once, they might be having a feeling of being left out. They might have a feeling of, this game is not fun for me because I'm getting ignored. And that's not what you want, right? You don't want players to feel excluded or ignored. Because that could destroy the whole experience of those games completely for them. If that's their first time playing and they get ignored, they might never come back to the tables.
Yeah, but in a campaign you have time for that. So you don't need to have a moment to shine for every character in your party. Mm-hmm. So you can say, or you can plan a session like, today you are in the spotlight. Nearly everything we have planned for today is in your wheelhouse.
Exactly. Do
what you gotta do. And in the next one, the story leads to something where for example, the rogue is very important. For a jailbreak, you need to pick locks, you need to be sneaky. The paladin can't do that, but the rogue can. So, or you have a big fight coming up, or a arena fight, and now you can send in your level 10 champion fighter, or level 10 barbarian, or something like that, to have them be in the spotlight.
Yeah. There's also a saying, I live vicariously through you, which is a famous quote wherever, right? It's fun. Basically just meaning, right, if a character in a campaign just has no like this jailbreak, right? The paladin, it might be a better option to just let the paladin not go in that jail for several reasons. Maybe they are also not on board with the idea of jailbreaking, and secondly, they can't sneak, so they don't go there. That could mean that they, however, have very little time in the spotlight that session. But the player can still have fun looking at the rogue do stuff. Like they can still be in the moment with them. They can have fun just looking at them play. In a one-shot, that also works, obviously. You also have players that might enjoy it more actually looking at watching others play. That's why campaigns like Critical Role actually work, because people like to watch those people play. But
exactly.
The thing is, in a one-shot, you need to have everyone have their spotlight, because if they don't have it, they never got it. They never get it after that. There is no spotlight after that.
They have no chance to get that. Yeah,
and that's the problem. And this is why when I design a one-shot, also tell my players what to expect of this game. If, for example, for my Cyberpunk one-shot, I told them this is gonna be you breaking into some security facility, getting something, and then fleeing. You need to make a plan on how to get in. You need to survive inside, and you need to get out, and then you need to get away. 4 parts. Make characters that actually work in that setting, so you have fun. Then I got mercenaries, hackers, and a stealth expert or something. Those 3 do jobs very well, because first, okay, I'm a mercenary. I am the one making the plan. Okay, we steal a vehicle, take that over, drive that into the building. Now we're inside. Our hacker gets to the next terminal and hacks the cameras, disabling them, and getting our stealther to that room where we need to steal from. The stealther then gets that thing unnoticed. Then we use the distraction that makes an alarm, and boom, we can get out in the commotion. That's what they did. And it worked. And then they had to get away through a long chase scene through the streets of Night City. That's also cool, right? But they all had something to do. They all had their spotlight. And that's because I told them what the adventure's gonna be. Either, when you have a one-shot already planned and get players that make characters, tell them what the one-shot is about. Not spoiler the game, right? You don't have to say, you will fight this creature, so prepare for that fight, but you can tell them this is gonna be a stealth operation. So then they can create characters with that in mind. Or let them create characters and create a one-shot specific for those characters.
Yeah, and in a campaign, you don't have to differentiate between those 2 options. You can plan something of a campaign, get the characters then, because you don't have to cater everything in the first session.
Yes.
You can start with something, and some player might have a spotlight in there, or they are all shit at it. It can be, and it is fine, because there are multiple other possibilities where they can shine, where they can prove how strong and how heroic they are.
Again, it's also very fun to have everyone in the party be shit at something and do that thing.
Oh yeah,
that's also
just seeing each other fail is a lot of fun sometimes.
That's a lot of fun. But if there's one person good at it and the rest is just failing, and then you need moments where that character fails and the others are good at. You always need to find a balance. If you have a full section where everyone is bad, that's fine. You don't need someone that's good at it. But if you have someone that's good at it, you need that character to be bad somewhere else, because then it feels like they are the main character and the rest is supporting cast, which is not true in a TTRPG. You always are equal as players. You always are equal. Yes. And again, a campaign, like we said, can do that very differently. And especially because of development in the campaign, which isn't in the one-shot there, which is not there in the one-shot, you have development. You can create scenarios at the beginning where the characters are shit at, but then get better.
Yeah, and there we have the character development aspect of it.
Especially the mechanical development this time.
Yeah, exactly, because you have a progression of not just your character or your backstory, but in levels, for example, like in D&D, you have class and developments. Like the monk will always be unbested in a one-on-one combat nearly every time. If you put them in a fighting pit, if they are not coming up against another monk, they probably will have their spotlight there. And even if they fail, they have a new opportunity to get redemption because they can progress and get stronger, like a training arc, basically.
Yeah,
that's something you can do as well. That's always fun.
Yeah,
like a little training Rocky montage, but stretched over 10 episodes for each character a little bit. If they split up the whole party.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
But you can do little training montages for them, little challenges, and then they can advance some levels and then come back and beat the shit out of the challenge they didn't succumb the last time.
Okay, yeah. To summarize all of this, what we just talked about quickly, what would you say are the big differences between a campaign and a one-shot?
In a campaign, you have time to develop your storylines or story arcs. In a one-shot, you do not. But in a one-shot, you have the opportunity to create interesting or fun character concepts, character ideas, and test out new things, which is a little bit impractical in a campaign because you have a long-term commitment in difference to the one-shot. You need to keep those things in mind as well, because in a one-shot, you have a limited time frame, which you need to keep inside of. In a campaign, you need to have the overarching story in mind. You have to keep it in mind and detail it around, so you can have a lot of fun over a long period of time. Yeah,
that's about it, right? Yeah,
I think something like it. We are a little chaotic. We talk a lot of stuff, but I think that summarizes it.
That's basically the
well.
Summarization. Yes, that's good. So everyone, this is the end of our episode. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DoubleDM Pod. We have a giveaway up that's still running till the 25th of June. You can still participate in that if you want to. We have a Discord server you can join if you want to guest on one of these episodes. We have a lot of people there already that might sometimes discuss stuff with us, and it's fun. We have a little few friends. We also have a world building panel coming up on the 26th of June on the Twitch channel of Steam Sage, which is this channel is www.twitch.tv/SteamSage1. There we will have a world building panel. None of us two will be on that panel, but we will have people like Marka the DM from Check These Out, a Ghost of Eli from Mayday Roleplay, Steam Sage, our host, Titano Mackie RPG from Twitter, Ewan Traken from Lost in Transmute, and Never Not DM from Twitter. All great faces of the TTRPG community on Twitter, all great world builders in their own right, and yeah, and hopefully we will see you there in chat asking questions about world building. You can, this panel is hosted by us on Sage's channel and will be available in podcast form after a few days of editing time for us. Then you can listen to Why Your World Matters, a TTRPG world building panel, also on your devices. But on the 26th of June at 5 p.m. EST, you can turn into that panel live, ask questions in chat, and yeah, for 2 hours, learn a lot of new stuff for world building. The focus of that panel is, and I need to highlight this, is not to show you the right way of world building. There is no right or wrong way. This panel is supposed to say every way of creating a world, no matter how you do it, is valid because it's yours.
Yeah.
You are
valid
in creating.
Definitely.
Do what you want, and we have 5 people plus a host talking about why you are valid. Why your opinion and your world is valid. So.
And maybe explaining how they do it and why they are doing it the way they are doing it.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yes, like our inspiration episodes, they will talk about how they do it, and you guys should evaluate what you can draw from that for your own way. And even if you disagree with all of them, then you still have your opinion, and that's the one that matters. What we always say is make your own opinion, right? You need to have your own opinion on things. Even if it disagrees with everyone you hear from. It's yours. And it's valid because it's your opinion. So, thanks for listening. We will hear you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.